Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. Wanted to just do something to celebrate the new year and thought it might be a fun thing to share my tabletop role playing game resolutions for 2024. And I think that's fun because I'm a nerd. So that's kind of going on. Was considering doing this last night as the ball dropped, and instead, my wife and I sat on the couch and just kind of watched it and then went right to bed. So that was fun. And what we got? We got Wingus Ryu, we got Grimwood Games. I see Gamers on Games there. I see Dave from just so much fun. Dave, you switched from Dave W to Grimwood Games. I saw you twice. It was great. There is a Discord, Wingus. It is typically held for the folks who are my patrons or people who are currently playing games or running games for an event that I'm at. So that's kind of where my Discord comes from. It's like the one key benefit I can give for folks who are patrons of the channel, because I can't think of anything. I have huge amount of imposter syndrome. I have no idea what to offer for a patron to make it actually worthwhile for folks. One of these days, I'm just going to go back and do a bunch of blooper videos of my outtakes of me going blah, 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 blah. And I'll find that funny. I hope and all the patrons do as well. But yes, that's how you get to the Discord. But I thought it would be fun just to share my greetings, fellow gamers. Hello, fellow teenagers. The Anchorite's cat. Holy smokes, that's the coolest name I've ever seen. And hello, King Eric, the greatest of all. Good to see you all here today. So let me tell you what I am going to do, and then I can see what you guys want to do. So I'm going to be sharing my tabletop role-playing game resolutions for 2024. There's nothing greatly serious in it. This is all tongue-in-cheek, a fun way to start the year off. And then I'll share some of my things that aren't resolutions, but they're goals. So that's kind of what I'm coming up, and maybe some cool stuff that I'm coming up with. And if you want to jump on, so there's the caveat. If you want to jump on and share what your tabletop role-playing game resolutions are for 2024, you have to have someone who is you have to have some way to contact me away from the stream, because I'm not putting my way to get live on my channel on public, so sorry. But if you have a way to contact me, if you're on the Discord, if you are a friend of me on Discord, if you're on Facebook or can text message me or anything, if you want to come on and share yours, I think I have it set up to where I would not be totally obnoxious for me to bring you on. If anything, it'll be fun to try. So if you're interested in that, come on ahead. AD&D books are a great patron idea. I don't have enough money to buy extra copies except for the one extra copy of the player's handbook that I have up there, which I might be giving away at like 5,000 subscribers. But yes, they would be a great patron idea. So before I even get started, I want to share one of the cool things that I did get. One of my players got me this for Christmas. So if you were here, if you were watching can I use a Skyring stone? I guess, King Eric, you really don't connect with me anywhere except for here. You're on the Facebook group, aren't you? But one of my players did get me this. So if you were watching the Christmas stream, you saw that my wife had gotten me the 4th edition Monster Manual. That kind of got me the 3 core books for 4E. So that was kind of cool. I'm just going back and collecting the editions that I used to have and the editions that I never have. 4E is one of those. Little did I know that one of my players had gone in with her to save on shipping, and he picked me up this. This is the same monstrous compendium I would have had when I was playing 2E way back in the day, and he picked it up for me. So that now I have the 3 core books of, I'm not even going to bother trying to put that up there right now, the 3 core books for 2E. So that's cool. I only have a few that I need to get still. I need the 3.5E Monster Manual, and I need the Trampier cover of the player's handbook for AD&D. So that would have been really fun. Those are kind of ones that I want to. I'll get 3.0 after that. And for me, it's just kind of collecting at this point. So that's kind of cool. But that was a really cool pickup. I opened the box and was like, ah! It was really awesome. But let's get to the actual resolutions for 2024, which will be fun. So yeah, that was very sweet. I still love the Anchorite's cat, which I think is the coolest name for online anyway. I almost turned one of my professors into an anchorite one time just for the fun of it back when I was in college. Um, so anyway, here's a couple of my resolutions that I'm going to start with. First is in 2024, I'm finally going to review Forbidden Lands. Now, I have read Forbidden Lands. I enjoyed Forbidden Lands. I describe Forbidden Lands as taking the same kind of tone as the Silmarillion, but removing even more hope from the narrative. And that's pretty much what you get when you get to Forbidden Lands. But it's a really cool game, and it's a very neat system. And so I want to get back. I did read it. I read it last February, in fact, and I just never got around to reviewing it. I forget what happened that I backed off, and now I need to reread it so I can do the review and do it justice. So that's kind of what I'm going on for that. So hopefully I'll get to Forbidden Lands. It's been sitting on the back burner for a while. And I either picked up a new game or a Kickstarter came in or someone sent me a review copy. A lot of times if folks give me review copies, they get bumped to the top because I don't want their stuff sitting on a shelf. They trusted me to do a review, and I want to get it done. King Eric Dale, how do I get there if it's forbidden? That's a very good question. You should buy the game and check out the lore or wait for my review, which will hopefully happen before halfway through the year. Yes, and Kira, Deities and Demigods with the Cthulhu mythos. I actually missed that coming out. So I'm trying to collect the books that I had. I actually had the version, I had Legends and Lore, the orange spine version of that had, didn't have Cthulhu or and a couple other things on it, but had a really cool Jeff Easley cover. I think it was Jeff Easley who did that with Odin. That was wild. Very, very cool. So that's my first review. So I'm finally going to get to review Forbidden Lands. I might throw Coriolis up there as well as a review if I can get to that, because Coriolis is a really cool game. To me, it's too huge, and I think I've said this before, but my critique of the book is it's absolutely gorgeous as a work of art that you want to page through, and it doesn't function well as a book. Partly because it's such a cool work of art, but that's another. One of these days I'll get to Coriolis as a review, which would be fun. My second is, well, I got this in, so I'm going to have to run it. So Shadow Dark, I did my first attempt at a live stream, which was okay. My internet connection completely collapsed during the middle of it, but it was a lot of fun to do. Players made some really fun characters. They were really kind of goofy. So I've been waiting to revisit Shadow Dark until I got my hard copy of the book in. And here it is. And it's really gorgeous. It is so pretty. Yes. Dave, I just got your message. I will give you the link here. This is really thick. There's so many charts and goodies and cool stuff in here. I'm trying to angle this to the camera constantly. I'm looking at the screen. It's really cool, but it's digest size. So it's the same size as Old School Essentials. It can fit right next to it. Very, very cool. The other cool thing that we are doing with Shadow Dark is I want to try not only to review it and read it, but I do want to, I'm sending out an invite screen. I do want to try the live stream. And we had a friend in that group who created a character called Honest John. Honest John, if you go back and watch even the live stream or even my reflection on the live stream, as I getting the password for my friend to get into the chat so he can get on here. Give me 1 second. His character died. Well, at least we thought he died. I completely forgot the death save rules, and so we went back and retconned that they went and did the roll to revive him. But his name is Honest John, and he had a wisdom of 7. He was a halfling wizard. Absolute trip. Friend played him so well, and he's one of the reasons why we want to go back and revisit the system, is just so we can see what Honest John is up to. And I think one of my friends had said that he'd been thinking about how to make Honest John in another system. I think he specifically said 5e. I said, well, that would actually be kind of fun. We could do like the multiverse of Honest John and try to recreate this character with a 5 wisdom, a reasonable intelligence, and a criminal background, and just try to make him in as many systems as possible. And that's something that we're probably going to try to do in the coming year. But the resolution is to run another live stream of of Shadow Dark just to see what those characters are up to because it was an absolute trip. And yes, King Eric, the Honest John was a character who fell into the pit. So if you've ever familiar with the Moldvay Basic, they have in the back the the haunted keep. So that was the first dungeon I ever looked at and actually tried to take. I used to take my grandfather through it constantly and ran it terribly because I was like 7 or 8. And so I thought it would be fun to start. We're starting a new system. I'm going to make the haunted keep, and we'll go through that. And Honest John walked right into the central corridor, and I rolled the dice, and he fell into a pit and died. It was great. That was so much fun. But yeah, we're gonna definitely gonna try to do a live stream of that in the coming year for Shadow Dark, which would be cool. Let's see if Dave got in. Dave is there. Dave, how are you? I'm very good. Okay, I'm gonna get you in a second. Let me do my next. Nobody's hearing you talk. By the way, Dave, that was really kind of fun. So let me copy your solo link. I'm gonna get you in there, and I'm gonna go to studio mode. I'm getting fancy, and I'm gonna try to get you in here. And I'll bring you on in just a second, which should be fun. But the other thing that I want to do is, while if you were paying attention to any of my PAX U stuff as I'm knocking stuff around here on the table, um, I did actually get No Thank You Evil. So this is what I picked up at PAX U. It's upside down. And I got this specific. I picked up a bunch of games that I specifically could play with my son when he got into wanting to try to play a game. So he's looked at this a couple of times. He's like, "Wait, I want to play with this." And I tried to. He's like, "Where's the board?" I'm like, "Oh, there's no board." He's like, "That would be hard." I'm like, "Yes." Well, no, it'll be fun. We get to use stuff, and maybe we can make a map. And so he's starting to get more and more fascinated by the concept of this. He's 5. He's in kindergarten. And I did got him at PAX U. I got him the book, The Little Game Master, as a Christmas present. He didn't want to read it for a few days. He's like, no, Dungeons and Dragons is scary. I'm like, well, no, it doesn't have to be. And finally, the other day, we finally read it. And he's kind of like, wait, this is like No Thank You Evil. I'm like, yes. And so now he's like, we have to play. I'm like, good. So I'm resolving to play that with my son at some point during the day. And we do have our first guest who has popped on. And this actually worked a whole lot better than I thought. But here is Dave from Grimwood Games. Let's get you on here. There we go. Hi, Dave.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Can everybody hear Dave? If you can sound off and chat, that would be great. He should be hearable. I'm looking at his audio going. So what's your resolution? Your tabletop role playing game resolution for 2024?
My resolution is to finish my system that I'm developing. I want to get that done by the end of 2024.
I would love to see you get that done by the end of 24 or 2024. Can you describe people the system?
Sure. It's a mixture between Cipher and EZD6, Cipher system and EZD6, and it's using a D12 instead of a D6. So it has boons and banes like EZD6, but it uses pool systems for your damage and powers and stuff like
Cool.
Cipher system.
Awesome. And it's tied to a setting, correct? I'm trying to get you centered into the
It
thing. Give me a second
is.
here.
It is. It's tied to Grimwood City, which is a urban fantasy uh, system. Urban fantasy. So it's like
Okay.
Dresden or so. And then my other thing is I'd like to play more games because I DM so much that.
You want to run a player? That's actually one of my resolutions as well. So yeah, but tell people more. Like, where are you at with your development? I'd love to give you a shout
Uh,
out for this.
I have play tested about 20 times. I'm roughly to the point where I'm actually making paragraphs of the rules, not just, hey, this is what this does.
Okay.
Um, so I'm expecting probably by late summer to
Okay.
have it ready to go to the editor.
Okay.
And then I got to get some more art done because I am going to reuse some art because I do have a book coming out probably in March, April for EZD6 with the same setting, Grimwood
Are you?
City.
Oh, you are releasing Grimwood City as just an EZD6.
I am going to release it as an EZD6, yeah, because that's
Awesome.
already done. It's at the editor. I'm just waiting for some art and the editor to get back, and that should be released in March. And so, yeah, I got 2 books that I'm hoping to release by the end of the year.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
So,
Congratulations. Great
um,
resolution. So you have two resolutions to finish your system and to get this other book out.
yeah,
The layout's really
right.
cool, and it does not look like every other EZD6 book on it because you didn't try to mimic the DM
there's
Scotty
ele-
stuff.
there's elements of it, but not 100%.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, just the fact that you changed the color palette, it's more purpley
Yeah,
than green,
it
which is
is.
nice. Very, very nice. I got a happy new year from BGD. Keep up the fine work here in this channel. Hope to see you at Rune Jammer when it kicks off this summer. All the best. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to be on, Chris, for Rune Jammer. That was a lot of fun last year. A lot of fun. And then Anchorite's cat said, My son is lucky to have such a cool dad." I'm not cool. That's never. Most times I'm trying to figure out a way to like hide. So I'm this is like I'm a severe introvert, and it's the end of a vacation right now. So today I was just like in the kitchen going, I don't know what to do. There's so many people in the house constantly. But then my son was like, let's go play Pokemon Scarlet. I'm like, yes. And so we
Ah,
sat and played that for like hours, which is probably not good for either of us, but it was fun.
it recharged your battery though.
It did recharge my battery. It was a good time. But he keeps wanting to play No Thank You Evil, so I'm gonna have to get it booted up or propped up in my review queue so I can actually read it and learn it. Cool. You got any other resolutions for the year?
No, that's. I think that's enough, don't you?
That's I think I have like 12, so I think
Yeah, but I mean,
you had big ones,
I got big ones.
which is great, man.
So,
Awesome. Well, Dave, thanks for popping on, man. I'm gonna go
no
back to
problem.
my list. That
Yeah,
was awesome. I'm glad it worked. I can't believe it
yeah.
worked, which is fun. So, and we'll talk
Oh
soon. Now
yeah.
we got to get on because I'm going to be playtesting with you this month, right?
Yeah, Monday, Martin Luther King Day, right?
On 15th. Yes. On the and then you want to do it on the 18th?
No,
My new Monera group. There's a brewery that opened up like 4 blocks from my house. So my
nice.
new Monera group is like, hey, do you mind if we play here on Thursday? And they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay. So we're gonna play at the brewery on the 18th. That's gonna be a blast. So much
That
fun.
sounds like fun.
All right,
All
Dave.
right,
I'll check in with you
thanks.
later.
Bye.
Bye. That was awesome. So if you have another way to have a way to contact me the way like Dave did, you want to share your resolutions for the year, that would be a lot of fun. I forget where I was. Ah, there I am. My other resolution for the year to play a game. See if I can. Where is it? Up here. No, wrong hand. There we go. I want to play Dragonbane. I This game is cool. I have run a couple of demo combat for myself. I've run a demo combat for my Thursday night players. We took a day off or a week off from our basic fantasy game because we had some folks sign off for they couldn't play that week, sign off for that week. They couldn't play that week. And so we're like, well, let's try this. And we rolled up 4 characters and went to town, and it was a blast. One of my players is like, that's cool. We need to play. So when we finish our basic fantasy campaign, as much as I love basic fantasy, and I will always go back to playing that game because it's cool, we'll probably be shifting to Dragonbane because it's wild and it's so much fun. And I loved running it and really love playing it. It's really cool. Uh, you're running Dragonbane at my con, Dave, or are you playing your system at my con? Which is another thing we have to get to. Wingus Ray has been playing Dragonbane a lot. Yes. King Eric, they do not serve mead at the brewery, unfortunately. However, my daughter's boyfriend just got a mead making kit, and we're going to be doing that pretty soon, which should be yummy because mead is very tasty. And also, one of my new Numenera players actually gives me some mead every now and again. Yes, Anchorite's cat or the Anchorite's cat. There will be a con. I am going to get to that in just a second. So hold on. It'll be cool. Looking forward to cracking it open. Yeah, Dragonbane is really cool. how do you pronounce that? One Al Flynn. Very, very. Oh, so you're playing your system and Dragonbane? Thank you, Dave. I'm really glad that you're playing Dragonbane. I haven't looked at the schedule. I have to go back and look at it so we can get the system set up for, or the schedule set up for tabletop events. So Dragonbane is the next thing that's on my list. That's really, really cool. And then this resolution is actually being taken care of already. If you're a fan of the channel, I've been watching it, you know that I've been complaining because this book has been utterly mocking me for months, sitting on my shelf, being like, "Ha ha, you don't have time to read me." And I got done my latest book for review. I have a couple more that are sitting in queue, and I was just like, "Forget it. Am I am reading Marvel Multiverse now." I'm just at the like I've just got to the character creation chapter, and I will tell you this right now: the coming from phase rip to this is a whole lot more crunchy than phase rip ever was. And I've heard people complain about like, I gotta look at a table. It's like that's like the easiest thing on the planet. Like this is like there's some crunch to this game. However, it is interesting crunch. I will say that. And it looks to be interesting. They've tried to make it so that it follows the power levels of the comics. So if somebody like if the Hulk punches you, you're toast. Like there's no like miraculous saves. It's that's kind of fun. And that's kind of the idea. But I'm enjoying it, working it, reading it so far. One of the cool things that I love that they did, because it is a comic book based um, book, and they're using art right from the comics. They like have Steve Ditko art in this book, which was like I looked at it. You open up, it's like that's Steve Ditko. It was really really cool. But they have the artist name next to each of the works that are in the book, because in comic books artists aren't usually signing their stuff the way that you can do for a lot of the fantasy stuff. So they actually listed the names of all the artists next to their works, which I thought was a nice little touch. Give them a little bit of a nod because so much of what makes comic books awesome is the artwork, and they're shouting out the comic book artist in the book. So I thought that was really cool. I think this is a Marvel Multiverse so far is a really interesting system. I think Phase Rep was a lot more fun. It was certainly a lot simpler, but I'm interested in seeing how this works out, how Crunch and superheroes works out. I mean, it works for mutants and masterminds, so it should work for Marvel, right? That's kind of what's going on. Let's see. Avenue, more conventions. Yes, well, you're coming to a convention this weekend, Avenue Studios, so that'll be fun. And I should do more interviews. Your one with Kelsey was great. Well, funny you should mention that. Let me see my schedule here. I do try to schedule as many conversations as I can fit, because especially because of the time slot. Because I'm doing it during lunch, I need to find a time where I can kind of schedule a block and skip lunch that day and actually do the interview where I'm not interfering with my other work. So I try to schedule them a little bit in advance. And on the 25th of January at noon, that's Thursday the 25th, I am going to be chatting with Bob Worldbuilder, and that should be absolutely a blast because he is one of the nicest people. Bumped into him at PAX U. I'd emailed him beforehand, but then bumped into him at PAX U. He's like, wait, I remember you, like, you interviewed Kelsey. I'm like, yes. Okay, cool. I had sent him the link. Like, this is the type of conversation that I do. That's why he actually saw it. And that was really, really fun. So that's going to be a blast. You want me to get someone with Free League? Yes, Wingus. I actually did interview someone with Free League. I interviewed the author of Pirate Borg back in the summer. And one of my first interviews ever was with Doug Shute, who is the person who runs all the convention booths with Free League. And he's the one that got me actually daring to talk to people and get them onto the channel. So that was a lot of fun. And Bob does seem awesome. And yes, he probably can build it. And there's some other people that I really want to reach out to in the coming year. I am going to try. DM Scotty's got a new book coming out for EZD6. It is The Wasted World. That's going to be the post-apocalyptic setting. Should also have some stuff for more longer term play advice is one of the things I think from our first conversation. I'm going to get it as soon as it comes out. I've already resolved that that's just jumping ahead of everything. I'm going to take about a week to read it, and I'm going to have DM Scotty back on as well, so that should be fun. I do want to get some folks from more Free League and Monty Cook eventually on as well, so that should be a lot of fun. And I haven't talked to anybody from Goodman Games yet either. After I do my first funnel this weekend at Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, that would be fun. And if anybody ever wants to like forward my name to Professor Dungeon Master, I would love to talk with him because he just seems like absolute so much fun to talk with. I think it would be a lot of fun. There's just kind of the things that I'm looking forward to with that. So yeah, I will do more interviews. It'll be fine. Um, the other goal, this is a very personal thing for me. So this is kind of like, if you don't know the history of DM Tales, this started, well, my jump back into TTRPGs started in the pandemic. March 2020, everything is shutting down. And I already talked about how I am a deep introvert. So my problem is, didn't turn out to be as much of a problem as I thought because I had people living here. Um, I my I knew that if I didn't have something social, I was just going to collapse. I would just collapse in on myself. So I had actually reached out to a couple of friends on Facebook, said, we need to do a D&D game. I haven't played in decades at this point. And someone's like, well, you should run it. It's like, I don't have books and I don't know how to get books at this point. And so one of my friends ran it. I was a 5e campaign and I played a paladin with an Oath of Vengeance who played a little bit like Batman and ended up taking it. His oath ended up applying to his own country. That was a lot of fun. But we did that, and that kind of sparked everything. Started pondering running games, and then in February of 2021, so I'm coming up to 3 years this February, thought, well, it'd be fun to kind of share stories on Facebook or on YouTube. That would be fun. That's why it's DM Tales. And so I did that for a little bit, and I started doing a couple of reviews. And yeah, I guess I will get to the questions. I did a couple of reviews, and the reviews just started taking off. And I'll tell you right now, one of the things that kept me from jumping back into role playing games was just lack of funds because I know how my brain works. I remember from when I was playing as a kid. I want the stuff because I want to collect and I want to read. I was a huge comic book reader and I was always collecting things. Yeah, Epic Solo, it is my origin story. And that's what kept me out from doing it. And so the reviews kind of stoked that I get to read all these games now, and that's really cool. And for that, to think that there's games out there I can play, I have to thank Basic Fantasy because that's really the first game that I found. It was like, wait a minute, it's open source and it's free and I can download, I can read it. It's $5, I'm buying it, and off we go. And so here we are. Thank you, Chris Gonerman. Um, so that's kind of where we got to. I have no idea where I was talking, where I'd started from, but that's kind of it. So that's my. This channel has been my sanity for 3 years. That's what I was doing. Um, Stress from the pandemic. You're trying to keep family as reasonably healthy as you can. You're trying to keep your community as healthy as you can. The pastor of a church, trying to keep that as healthy as possible during incredibly tumultuous times. The pandemic only being part of it. And it's been very stressful. So DM Tales has been my breathing space. That's been my outlet. So I kind of want to bring these things together a little bit, or at least take something that means so much and has been my space for my breathing and my sanity for these past 3 years, and allow that to become part of my pastoring, which that's something that drives people like, how do you do that? So my resolution for this year is I'm going to complete and actually submit a sabbatical proposal. It will be a 4-month sabbatical. I think if the timing works out right, I would take a July, August, September, October. And I might put trips to both Gamehole Con and Gen Con on there. And also try to talk to some other game developers And so I'd be spending time. So it's, if you don't understand what a sabbatical is for like teachers or pastors, it's not an extended vacation. You're supposed to be doing other type of work that you wouldn't get to do normally. And what I would be doing is reading theories of play for development, and reading game design concepts, talking to other game developers, and actually trying to write a game that would help me as a pastor help people explore spiritual development. Keyword there being spiritual development. You don't create a game to teach dogma. You just don't gamify that. That's just bad. And I'll give you an example why. So there was, back during the Satanic Panic. Yeah, hopefully every soul I can be a game Ogon. Um, so during the Satanic Panic, there was the Christian version of D&D called Dragon Raid, which I had heard about but had never seen. When I got here to this church 2003, so I've been here 20 years, the previous pastor, or one of the previous pastors, actually had this game, and it was sitting in the pastor's desk in a drawer, and it's the full box. Like, it's got they came with a cassette tape with really bad voice acting. It's like got the whole thing on it. I've listened to it. And so that was kind of fun, and I read it, and uh, it's a fantasy campaign. It's very thick on using Christianese and trying to teach dogma. One of the things that you do is to unleash kind of like faith effects or spell effects, really is what it is inside the game, is you memorize scripture and you blurt that out. And I looked at it and went, wait, they're complaining about make believe magic in Dungeons and Dragons, and instead they're actually doing the real thing. Sociologically speaking, when you're trying to like use word or ritual to manipulate the divine, that is magic. It's anthropologically speaking, I should say. And they wrote a Christian video game because they were scared of magic in a game, and then decided to actually do it. That's why you don't teach dogma in role playing games. Don't ever try to do that. I will not be a scripture memorization game. So instead, of what I'm trying to do is I'm going to create a game that lets people explore kind of the wells from where their actions come from, and to show how the movement to those things is partly what changes the character. So I have two different axes in grid plot. It's a community, individual, and then the y-axis is innovation and tradition. And you can be plotted on any of those things, and that's the idea. So the game for me would be very ethical heavy. If your character is acting against kind of the well from where their motivations come from, they're going to take a penalty on the roll because they're acting against character, right? That's the idea. Hey, how are you? Interplanet Crossroads is here. Thank you. And yes, scripture is a magical spell component. Yes, Anchor It's Cat. That's exactly. One of these days, I'll review Dragon Raid just for that. But that's the idea. So if you're acting against your motivations, or the source of your motivations, you're going to take a penalty of the roll. I think I'm going to do it as a roll under mechanic because I really like that. Borrowed many of the concepts from Dragonbane skill system to do skills. But that's kind of the way that I'm going to do it. But also, one of the things, and if you've watched over the last few years, you've seen people become more and more extreme, a lot of times more towards the conservative side, which is, I have many personal tragic experiences with that. Um, you see people, the more they push, the more they get challenged. Sometimes they push back and they go the other direction harder. So one of the mechanics of the game, and it's hard to you don't want to mechanicalize it, but I want it to be to show that these motivations are important. And I'll probably do some other ways to help people stay more centered. But they'll be kind of like a box of 10 checks. Like every time you act successfully against your motivation, the box gets checked. You hit up 10, you're going to have a crisis, a crisis of conscience. And at that point, there'll be probably, I think, an awareness roll. I love the idea of are you aware of what's going on? And if you succeed, there is change. And you move more towards the opposite end of the pole. And if you fail, you push more towards the extreme of your own. You're pushing back and doubling down. We watch this happen all the time in real life, right? And that's kind of the idea. And if a person gets pushed off of that chart, they become an NPC, and they can either be a tragic, they can either be a, kind of a tragic figure, or or sometimes semi sympathetic figure. But if you're not acting in their extreme, they're not necessarily going to trust you. Jordan Fuzz, penalty in a role sounds rather ableism, the capitalist paradigm, the modern world, and really not fitting game of sports faith. Well, I'm exploring kind of the ethical motivations of faith, and yeah, I agree. It's very tricky. Depending on the role is because you are acting against your internal motivations. Um, I'm not sure how that would be ableist, because I'm not talking about actual disability or anything. It's because every one of those quadrants is got a necessary aspect, I think, to human community. And so for me, I would want a party that has people acting in all those different quadrants and trying to navigate and negotiate the struggle with that. But yeah, it's a the difficulty gamifying it, because the crisis to you want people to be aware that a crisis is a dangerous moment, and it can be dangerous for good and it can be dangerous for bad. And how we respond to it is important. And this is fiction. I want to do it in fiction because I don't want people to go into a crisis in real world and and feel like they're forced into a corner one way or the other. They can take a breath and see this is kind of the way the way things are working. So yeah, uh, it's a very tight rope to walk. So I got to be very careful about how it's described. Um, and again, it's not about like, well, you're bad at this. It's a you're acting against the character's conscience, because the character is not in tone to that. So, and you watch this happen in real life all the time. If you have someone who is very, very, very traditional about how they go about their language and how they talk, and the types of activities they're involved in. And for folks who are church based, it's like they want the pipe organ, even though like 150 years ago that was an innovation. But the pipe organ is traditional, and Christians have always done the pipe organ, and that's what we want. And so that's that. And then you have somebody who is more innovative. It's a bad term for it, but that's the opposite side of the spectrum. Well, we want a guitar. Well, there's going to be pushback at that. And that's what I'm trying to create the tension between. Not one is better than the other, but that there is a tension between these two. And part of learning our own spirituality is recognizing the well from which we come, so that we can appreciate the good depths of it, and the dangers of it, and also appreciate the stuff for people that we disagree with. That's the idea. So that's I. Um, that's the internal struggle. So it's not a physical concept like the ability scores do not have. They have modifiers for your skills, but they're not going to be not going to be awful. It's pretty much the D&D trap that we have to. But that's the idea. So that's what I'm going for. What's it? It adds a lot of flavor and helps you memorize pieces of scripture. so, um, so that's kind of where I'm at. So that's the struggle, and you are, Jordan Fuzz, you are right. It this you I'm not trying to gamify the faith. I'm trying to gamify. I'm not even trying to gamify. I'm playing a game to help people explore themselves. And so if and partly people should be running a character, I think that's more opposite of who they are, so that they can learn a little bit more. But that's kind of the struggle that I'm having with that, is to try to keep the balance and make it an authentic exploration of where the motivations of characters come from and how that affects their actions in game. So it's kind of an important thing. And also, you can act against your motivation, but I mean, you ever get assigned a task that you didn't really believe in? Do you give it your all the time? Like I can tell you right now, I don't. I probably should be a little bit more mature, but I don't. That's the struggle with that. So it's be kind of fun. I haven't even decided on a setting yet. It might actually be one of my players is like, don't do post-apocalyptic. It sounds too real. It's too close to home. But I really like post-apocalyptic settings, and taking it into the future instead of into faux past helps you break some of the, you're really doing this. No, we're totally in the future. So I'm still struggling with that a little bit. We'll see how it goes. And thank you, Anchorite's Cat, for saying it's a creative idea. It's something I've been chewing on for a while. I've had like 4 different mechanics I went to and finally just went, it's got to be roll under. But those are my resolutions for the year. I do know that Avenue Studios wants to go to more um, uh, conventions this year, which would be kind of fun. Let's talk about goals that I have for this year as well. And thank you for like listening to my rambling about the philosophy of the game. That's because I just wrote down my first notes. Like Dave, I sent him like my first notes on the mechanics this afternoon because I finally got time to sit down and be like, okay, what about and go. So that's fun. But here are my goals for the year. So these are not resolutions. I am not resolved. I will do this. These are my goals. One of them should be a resolution. I probably push it back up. But I want to run PCs in more non-fantasy games. I've run PCs in a lot of fantasy games, except for the Saga System one shot that we just ran this past week, where I got to play a jaded police officer, a police detective in a cosmic horror stuck on a cruise ship, and that was absolutely terrifying. And Jacob has something wrong with his brain to be making freaky things like that and scary, and it was wonderful, and I love that he has something wrong with his brain that he came up with that stuff. It was a lot of fun, and it was a total TPK. So I should put the link. I'll put it in a post on the community tab so you can see what it was, but it was insane. And Sagas is an interesting system. I'm not entirely sold on it. It's very simple. It might be a little too simple for me, and that's saying something weird from somebody who loves EZD6, but it was just something that I was having trouble getting my head around. I finally did, but it was really fun. But it was an absolute blast. The game system was really really fun. Um, so and also the cool thing was is like he was like the burnt out but still protector mode cop, and he couldn't do anything, which was fun. And then there was this other character who was she just a chef, guys? Can you go on the but she had an 8-inch chef's knife in her purse for some strange reason. So I kept on missing on everything that I did, and like I was trying to open doors, and then she would like, okay, stand back, and we'll let them kick, and then she would just kick the door open, and I was like, it was so great. So like my character could do absolutely nothing, and this other character just kept on doing everything, and he was like, yeah, okay, that's cool, and that was fun. So I do want to run more PCs and non-fantasy games. A big one on my list. Oh, Jordan Fuzz for my own system. I am at 28,000 words. I hope I finally get it done this year. 28,000 words. How many pages is that? That's enough. She was a chef by trade. Yes, Interplanar Crossroads. Thank you. Um, oh, that's crazy, Jordan. That's awesome. 28,000 words? Really? I love it. Um, so I do want to do that. One of the big games on my to play list is Outgunned, and if you've seen this by Two Little Mice, it is essentially taking every trope from 80s action movies and tying it to a mechanic that is basically Yahtzee. It's hysterical and fun, and there's actually a role that you can do where you become the director for the scene. And if you want to know how that works, go on my live stream page on the channel and look up the interview with Two Little Mice with Rico and Simone. First off, they're both like great. But they told a story of when this happens, when the player took over the direction for the scene and got to say anything they wanted to do. And it was total 80s action movie insanity. Uh, it was so much fun. It was really, really cool. Um, so that was, but I want to play that game. I don't want to run it. I want to be a player in the game. And Rico and Simone from Two Little Mice actually said, well, we should play with Doug. And Doug's the guy that introduced us, Doug Soup from Free League. We should make Doug run a system for us. I really want to do that. So that would be so much fun in 2024. That's a goal. It's not a resolution, but it is a goal. But also to play some more characters from fantasy games. I don't really necessarily like running non-fantasy games. I did run a science fiction horror one shot at PAX U this year. Dave from Grimwood Games played. I hope that he had a good time. Um, but I like playing them, and I think my brain doesn't quite can't really click how to make it feel less settled because you're always in like a high tech area. So how am I going to make this dangerous? Because I'm too Star Trekky. But I did that one shot, and I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. It'll be a lot of fun. But I want to play a lot of characters in non fantasy games. I think that would be a blast this year. So that's a goal, not a resolution, but a goal. Um, I do also want to run a one shot at a local game store. There's a couple around here. There's one that has open tables and a Discord channel, and they were interested in having Dragonbane. I needed to get through the holidays. I probably need to get through a little past the holidays, but I'm probably going to offer to run at least a one shot of Dragonbane for them at the game store, just to help them out, get some traffic in, and see if people actually like the system, and hopefully get them a couple sales, which would be good. I'm also trying to get the hobby store to come to the convention and set up a table so they can be there for all your gaming supplies during EcclesiaCon. It was so funny. The owner is just like, "Well, how much your tables?" I'm like, "No, I'm doing this as a favor for you. Like, you would be the game store that's here." He's like, "Oh, I think we could do that." I'm like, sure, that would be fun. I'm not a very good fundraiser. If I were, I would be charging for tables, but I don't even know how many people are going to come to this thing. So let's talk about the goal, because the goal, which should be a resolution, because I have people who are committed to coming to it, is to make sure that EcclesiaCon happens. So ecclesia is the word for church in Koine Greek, or the New Testament Greek, and so I was like EcclesiaCon, and the reason why it's EcclesiaCon is because um, Dungeon Minister came out with Clergicon, and I was jealous and couldn't use that anymore, so that made me unhappy. So I had to come up with my own, and the idea came from my Monday group that group that was started with Fifth Edition. A lot of folks was like, well, we could do like a retreat type thing with this. That would be easy. And so that's kind of where it boiled out of. And they're some of the people who are behind helping to organize it. And what we're going to do is is there an onion eating contest? If you want to run it, Anchorites Cat, come on down and we can have an onion eating contest. I won't be in the room. But I can leave a remote camera. So what we're doing is we're actually splitting it. So instead of setting up limited liability corporation, we're actually running it as a church event. So the church event is running a 3-day gaming convention. We're weird. It is going to it's going to split the proceeds between it. So half of it's going to go to the church. We're using the space. That's fair. But it's directly going to our roof replacement fund, and that's important because this is a space that is used by a lot of folks in the community for different things. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous meets here. Our local music school has their concerts here. We have a immigrant community church that meets here. This is their home base, so it's important that this building is there for these folks because it's the space for them. And so I don't have any problem raising money for that. We're going to split it, however. We're not going to take all the cash for ourselves. Not going to be a huge amount, but it'll be significant for us, small little church. We're going to give half of it to the food pantry that is just down the street. It's like literally the church that is the next block over. The pastor's wife is one of my players in my new Numenera campaign. Your pastor's husband, excuse me. And so we're going to give half to them. And they do incredible work for helping folks with food insecurity in the area. And I have, aside from the fact that it's just great work in general, I have personal experience with people from the area who literally were saved from having to make a decision between like paying rent or car insurance or buying food because this place existed. It really functioned well, and so that was kind of important for me. And so we will be doing that, splitting the proceeds between those two, and then if we do this in the future, maybe we'll split it between a couple of others, which should be good. And Interplanar Crossroads wants to know exactly when it is, and I'm going to give it to you. It is April 12 through 14 is when it is. So it's not the weekend after Easter, but it's the weekend after Easter. The reason why it's not the weekend after Easter is because I'm on vacation the week after Easter because I'm doing this. And I can't be running a game convention while I'm doing that. So that should be fun. But that's what's going on with that. And it's going to go Friday night. It will go all day Saturday, and it will go on Sunday afternoon. Can't do it on Sunday morning because we are a functioning church and there's two congregations that work here. And, I don't know if they want to hear people screaming, "Crit, not 20!" Like during the prayer time. That would probably be bad. I mean, it would be funny, but it would probably be bad. Um, and so that's kind of where we're going to be running for that. We do have some folks. Some folks from Avenue Studios are playing. Dave has already said he's playing his system when he comes, and he's going to play Dragonbane. And I think Open Legends coming. Dan, what else are you playing? Running. It should be absolutely fun. I'm sorry that you'll have to be at another thing, Adam. It's just that's going to be bad. But it should be an absolute blast. I really hope that it comes together. I do need a few more GMs in order to make the convention work as well as it can. One of the things that Dungeon Minister pointed out is like, don't try to run a bunch of games. Like I have one session that I'm going to run it's a one shot that I've already got done. I don't have to do any work with it, but you're too busy fielding questions and trying to do stuff. And I would like to get a good profile for it out. So I want to be out taking pictures and videos and doing live streams, and can't do that if I'm running games, as much as I hate to say that. But that should be a lot of fun, and folks are going to have a blast. Still recruiting. If you're interested in coming to Palmyra, New Jersey, which is net 20 on a religion check, would be appropriate for prayer time, though, Wes. Come on. Okay, yes, that would be fine, but we're also trying to keep 5e to a minimum during the thing. So hopefully that's not. Never mind. Yes, but that would be good. I don't think the people who are in prayer time would understand which check we were making at the time. But anyway, the con will take place in Palmyra, New Jersey. That is literally 5 blocks in the Delaware River from Northeast Philadelphia, specifically the Tacony section or the Tacony neighborhood from Philadelphia. There are hotels that are probably the best ones to stay in are over in Cherry Hill, which is just a few miles from here, and it's a good spot. And there's a brewery down the street you can walk to, that's also fun. A little too hard for me for you in Europe. Yeah, Jordan Fuzz, that is a hike. The folks from Avenue Studios are coming from upstate New York, and Dave's coming from Maine, which that totally blows my mind. The Anchorites cat, where are you all at? Can I get a lift from West Australia? Well, speaking of, I mean, the principal of the music school here in town is from Australia. So she could probably find you cheap rate. I don't know. Her twin sister lives in New Zealand, so I actually have to get there so I can go see Hobbiton because I'm a nerd. It's kind of mandatory, right? But that's what we got going on. It should be an absolute blast. So if you know, I'm really looking for. I would love someone to do Cipher System. I'm going to reach out to Monty Cook Games to see if they have anybody they can recommend. Cipher System, Shadow Dark, any other type of small system that you are interested in running and playing. If you had a chance to have someone run, if you know anyone in kind of this area who'd be willing to come and run a table or two for a small little con and have some fun, I would be most appreciative of getting contact information, or you can point them to my website at dmtales.com and have them go through the contact page for that. I should say, please no Nazis. Don't like no. Like I can't. No, just no. So that's one of those things. You'll have to stop by if you're ever in the neighborhood. Was Anchorite's cat? I would love that. That would be so much fun. I would love to get to Australia. Do the spiders like, are they really going to kill you every time you're sitting on the toilet? Like, that's the rumor of Australia. I wish I could drag out the comments. I should put the comment feed on the screen. I don't know why I don't. Probably because it seems too much like Twitch, and Twitch gives me a headache. But that's what's going on. So, anybody else got some resolutions for your 2024 that you're coming forward to? Anybody want to come on and share them? I can get you onto the website if you have a way to contact me through Discord or Facebook Messenger or anything like that. That would be great. Or you can just share them in chat and I will read them off. I'll give you a couple minutes. But this has been a fun 55 minutes. Just me blathering on about stuff and you commenting, which was, I can't believe you're all spending New Year's Day evening, New Year's Day evening, New Year's Day night chatting with me. This is just water, by the way. And it's not because I overindulged yesterday, although that would have made the Eagles game probably more tolerable. So, a lot of fun. Alrighty then. I am not seeing anybody say anything, but I have had an absolute blast. Where is my last book? I don't know where it went. Can tell I'm starting to get a little punchy because I was up late last night. Anyway, what I've got coming up, I'm editing while I'm listening. Hey, Adam, this was lots of fun. Thank you so much. I don't resolutions. I change things when I feel like it. Yeah, I know that, Jude. And I actually don't typically. The reason why I'm making these TTRPG resolutions because I don't normally do New Year's resolutions. I do my behavioral kind of changes for good and for taking away during Lent because it kind of fits in with my whole shtick, right? That's the idea. But let's look at what's coming up. Next review, it is about 2/3 of the way written because I was writing the review as I was reading the book, is for Adventurous. Adventurous is a rules-like game, really fast play, really, really, really cool for rules for dungeon exploration and for wilderness exploration that are simple, clean, and really, really cool. So, like, look forward to this review coming out. I'd love to see them keep iterating the game. The layout is really good. The writing of the prose needs a little bit of work. There's like some shifts, like they keep shifting how they're identifying things. They just should go for singular they, and that way they don't have to keep doing gymnastics. But it's really, really cool. And I just, to play this game would be a lot of fun. It's really, really cool. Let's see what else we got here. I got a couple over Avenue Studios. We've got at least 2 new shows coming out in 2024. So not a resolution per se, but I hope people enjoy them. Sure thing, Dan. Your new shows coming out. If you want a fun actual play, look up Bomb Squad by Avenue Studios. That's a trip. I'm trying to watch the first campaign right now, and there's just this whole thing with the character discovering that another character is taking their baby into like a combat situation because that's just normal for them, and they're freaking out. And it was a lot of fun. Looking forward to hearing more about the TTRPG that explores spirituality. Thank you, Peter. That should be an interesting thing. Hopefully, I'll get that sabbatical grant and I'll have time to actually explore it. That'll be good. But Adventure is coming up. After that, Marvel Superheroes. I've got a Bob World Builder coming up later in the month, and that should be really, really good. Bomb Squad is the bomb. Adam, that is. I mean, when was that, like early 2000s? That early aughts when we were saying the bomb? Um, very, very nice. Nicely played. Really good. But I had an absolute blast. Thank you for spending this time with me, folks. It was really cool. And if you've got resolutions that you are making for 2024 that are totally about tabletop role playing games, when this goes up for video on demand, share them in the comments below. And hopefully, we can have a chat and celebrate really cool stuff and fun. Yay! One more announcement coming up, and I'm going to start accepting stories for this. One of the things I want to do at EcclesiaCon is dramatic readings of your crazy tabletop role-playing game stories. The rules are nothing mean, Nothing raunchy, because first off, I do PG-13 gaming just because that's the way my brain works, and the other thing is it's a church. So tone it down to like PG-13 is fine. Um, Unless you're reading parts of the Old Testament, in which case it's NT-17, but that's a whole nother story. Um, but so it's nothing mean, nothing cruel, just crazy stories. Some weird thing like your character using an antimatter battery to blow holes in a space station. Not that I know anyone like that, Dave. Um, like those types of stories. I'm going to start having those submitted. I'm going to actually make an announcement video for that, probably a short this week. Those can go through the DMTL's contact page. I'll probably create a separate one just for this, and we'll you by submitting it, you give us permission to actually do it. We'll probably try to live stream it because my daughter is a wonderful actress and has some friends that would do really hysterical readings of cool, funny, bizarre stories. That's what I want. So please send those in. Got specials coming out that you'd likely enjoy. How your faith has influenced your gaming, and how has your gaming influenced your faith? Thanks, Interplanar Crossroads. You should go look at my conversation with the dungeon minister earlier in this month because we spent about probably 40 minutes talking about that, which was fun. And so that's what's coming on. And I just remembered that I forgot. Somebody had left a couple of questions. My best games of 2023 and what I'm looking forward to in 2024. Who shared that? Was that Anchorite who shared that? I don't want to ignore your chat. So, there we go. What are you looking for? Is Wingus Ryu. Thank you. What are your top 3 games of 2023? What are you looking forward to in 2024? I can share you my top 3 that I reviewed. This is such a rambling stream at this point. Top 3 that I reviewed are Dragonbane. That's number 1. That's wild. Um, Another game that is not quite as accessible as Dragonbane, and it's because I think the translation it didn't quite have the style right for native English speakers, and that's Symbaroum. The reason why is because in English you would say your ability score you would say resolve, so you're going to roll against resolve. Um, no, that's not what is it? Accurate. They made all their ability scores not adverbs but verbs. We would want them to be nouns. And so they would be like strong, roll against your strong, and which is not really a verb, but I'm tired. It's late, but that's the idea. We would say it would be strength. So there's a little bit of like, oh, so every time they call for an attribute score, you're just like, some of the notation and some of the descriptions and some of the examples are a little bit muddied. But once you get into the mechanic, it's a roll under mechanic for Symbaroum. One of the coolest and best magic systems I've seen in any game, and one of the coolest settings that deals with some very serious issues of when cultures clash and the need to resolve those because you're not the higher ups in any of these things. You're just ordinary folk trying to make your way in the world. How are you navigating them? So that's kind of an important thing as well, which I really like. So it's really cool. And the lore for it is like just utterly amazing. And I've only read the core rulebook. I know they've gone on. So those are my top 2. Third best that I reviewed this last year probably would have been Index Card RPG. Once I figured out that system and how it was supposed to work and how it's kind of all loot based, more like a video game in a good way. That unlocked something for me, and it became a system that I absolutely wanted to run, which is why I wrote my sci-fi horror one shot for it. Really, really cool. So those are my top 3 that I reviewed in 2023. What I'm looking forward to in 2024, the bestiary for Dragonbane is coming out. Yes, that's going to be really cool. I know the big ones that are coming out are like Tales of the Valiant's coming out. I did not back that, mostly because it's 5e, and it's just I don't run 5e. It's not a system that I like running, and I don't think they changed enough to um, to really make it compelling for me. Like they didn't change challenge rating mechanics at all, because the way that you're supposed to calculate a challenging encounter in D&D 5e is like, what? Like, who thought this was simple? That drives me out of my mind. So that's kind of, I didn't back that. I don't know what I'm waiting for Land of M to come out. That's an Exalted Funeral that I backed last year, which is kind of like, dark comedy meets the Muppets. It's a little bit like sardonic comedy meets the Muppets. Um, that looks really cool. I did back that. The books hopefully will be shipping fairly soon. And I am looking forward to that really well. And you know what? I guess my other top game would have been Shadow Dark for 2023, but I'm now counting that as almost a 2024. And so that's what I'm. Those are kind of what I'm looking forward to right now. I have to keep my eyes open for a bunch of stuff. I know I've backed a bunch of things that I've pretty much forgotten at this point. So they're all going to start showing up. Like, woohoo! Oh, Dolmen One is probably going to come out in 2024, and that'll be a blast. So that's what I got. And Symbarum's on my 2024 Black Friday list. I will check out your review. Yeah, check out the Symbarum. Like I said, it's difficult to it's difficult to read part of it. Just the language is just a little bit off. It's the style guide from going from native Swedish to English wasn't. I don't think it was quite as settled as the way Free League is now. And actually, Symbarum predates Free League. It was actually put out with another company, and became part of Free League. And so I think they're doing a better job at that style guide now than they have been at that point. And it's Symbarum's by no means inaccessible. There's just points where you're like, where you have to like go back and choose like, oh, okay. And it's a matter of the way we phrase things, the way things natively get phrased in Swedish, and the types uh, of of grammar that we use to do stuff. That's the idea. Really good. That lunchtime chat with Father Aaron looks interesting. It was really fun anchoring Scott. He was really, really good. And I've been meaning to get him on for a while. Yo, Dano, thank you for coming on. Great stream. But Symbarum is really worth taking a look at. I will eventually run it. Just if nothing more for the magic system and for the setting, but the system is really, really good. And thank you so much. Here's to roping in Professor Dungeon Master. Yes, somebody just go mention him. Be like, hey, Wes at DM Tales is looking for you, because I'm sure he'll really appreciate that. But that's kind of what I got going on. So thank you all for spending some time with me this evening. I hope you have a wonderful evening, rest of the evening, and as your regular work week gets started, that you're having a wonderful start to 2024 and to much good gaming in this coming year. Should be a blast, folks. Until we see each other again, happy playing, everyone.